My entire cul-de-sac was illuminated by alternating waves of blue and red lights that represented not one, but two cop cars. Arrived at our yearly block party for summer tranquility. Our HOA president, Beverly Krauss, appeared to have summoned divine judgment from above as she stood at the edge of my lawn with her arms folded across her chest. Everything I needed to know about the person she thought the cops would be removing was shown by the sneer on her face. She had no idea that half the neighborhood would be filming the entire event on their phones, as her own cousin Todd was led by the bouncy house in handcuffs 30 minutes later. I'm a 38-year-old mechanical engineer named Evan Markley, and I relocated to Sycamore Glen 3 years ago. The old oak trees and the promise of peaceful streets are the main reasons I bought this house, not the mandatory community meetings that our HOA presidents seem to believe are as necessary as oxygen. Sitting on my front porch with a nice beer and possibly a good book while taking in the passing clouds was my concept of the ideal Saturday afternoon. On the other side, Beverly Krauss thought that anyone who did not take part in every neighborhood function was insulting the neighborhood's spirit. When you hear the term HOA president, you immediately think of someone like Beverly, with a whistle on a chain around her neck in case she had to re-establish order at any time. She carried her power like a badge of honor. All of the bylaws in our community handbooked to memory, and she apparently always knew which one she could modify to fit her needs. Jerry, her husband, seldom ever spoke at meetings. Instead, he merely nodded as she reeled off infraction warnings, like a coffee-fueled auctioneer. The conflict between Beverly and I began quite simply. I just denied the RSVP when the invitation to the required summer serenity party showed up in my mailbox. That weekend, I was going to Riverside to see my sister, and I didn't understand why a block party could be required. My courteous rejection was interpreted as a personal slight by Beverly. I was given a violation notice for having unapproved outside furniture the very next day. There was only one lawn chair on my front porch, which was the offending item. From there, things swiftly got out of hand, because my air conditioner reportedly exceeded permissible decibel levels during quiet hours, which he had conveniently reinterpreted to include the majority of the diocese, issued me a noise violation citation. I was then accused of disruptive behavior, as I dared to cut my hedges at 2 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. She consistently pointed out that these were merely cordial warnings from a worried neighbor, yet each infraction came with a suggested fee. Beverly was positioned at her customary command post, a folding table covered with a banner that reads, "Community first, always," on the morning of the summer tranquility party. My automobile began making strange noises, so I had to cancel my trip to Riverside and was left stranded at home. I made the grave error of lugging groceries from my car to my front door at around 11 o'clock in the morning. Beverly saw me right away and determined that I had trespassed during an official community gathering by being on my own property during a HOA event. With the theatrical flair of someone who had been waiting for this moment, I watched from the window of my living room as Beverly took out her phone and dialed 911 as she talked to the dispatcher. She paced back and forth on the sidewalk and made frantic gestures with her free hand. 2 police cruisers showed up in 15 minutes, and I realized I had to go outdoors before things got much worse. Although courteous, the officers who came to my porch were obviously perplexed by the entire circumstance. The main officer identified herself as Sergeant Daly and was a female wearing a uniform with sergeant stripes. She clarified that they had been contacted regarding a trespassing incident and requested that I provide more details. I said gently that I was only taking groceries into my own house because I lived here. Beverly hurried over speed walking with her whistle bouncing on her chest. She started off with a prepared speech on community norms and HOA rules, claiming that, by declining to attend, I was betraying the sacredness of their gathering. Sergeant Daly attentively listened, while periodically looking at Officer Kim, her colleague. The sergeant wanted to see my identification when Beverly finally stopped to catch her breath. Without protest, I gave her my driver's license, and as Beverly anxiously tapped her foot on my driveway, she processed it through their system. Everything turned out exactly how I had anticipated. I didn't have any fines, warrants, or even a parking infraction on my record. Sergeant Daly returned my license and turned to face Beverly, who appeared to have handled such circumstances in the past. She started by clarifying that being in your own house did not amount to trespassing. Officer Kim motioned toward the party area where Todd, Beverly's cousin, was lurking close to the snack table after abruptly straightening up and pushing his companion. Officer Kim had taken notice of Todd for some reason. Perhaps it was the way he appeared to be gradually moving away from the crowd or the way he kept looking at the police cars. Sergeant Daly looked at Todd for a moment before grabbing her radio after the cop muttered something to her. She called briefly and read off some information that I couldn't quite hear. The reaction was prompt, and both police turned their attention to the party area right away from me. Sergeant Daly approached Todd head-on with Officer Kim at her sides. When Beverly saw where they were going, she quickly followed them and asked them what they were doing, raising the pitch of her voice. Todd attempted to appear unconcerned as he picked up a paper plate and looked at the potato salad as like it needed all of his focus. The officers didn't believe it. He was asked to identify himself by Sergeant Daly. She also requested him to spell his name for her when he revealed it to be Todd Morrison. Todd Morrison had an active felony warrant in Riverside County for theft and probation violation. The radio buzzed with confirmation. There was an instantaneous and electrifying change in the atmosphere. When individuals saw the officers advancing to flank Todd, the happy party talk subsided. Kids in the inflatable castle paused their bouncing to gaze. A phone was taken out, and the recording began. Todd simply stammered explanations when Sergeant Daly ordered him to provide identification. Despite his feeble attempt to claim mistaken identity, as the sergeant stated that he was being held under arrest due to the outstanding warrant, Officer Kim went behind him. The entire neighborhood seemed to reverberate with the sound of handcuffs clicking as she witnessed her cousin being detained. During her own meticulously organized community event, Beverly's face changed from crimson to white to red once more. She made a valiant effort to step in, claiming that Todd was a cherished community member who coached Little League and worked at the food bank, and that there had been some horrible error. The cops maintained their professionalism while being strong, stating that they could not disregard an active warrant. Beverly trailed behind Todd as they guided him toward the patrol car, her shouting getting louder by the second. To contact the media, make complaints, and call the mayor on this egregious breach of their community gathering. At a respectful distance, yet close enough for all phone cameras to record the incident in high quality, the crowd had formed a semicircle. As Officer Kim led Todd into the back seat of the patrol car, he maintained a downward gaze. Standing on the curb, Beverly alternated between yelling at the officers and assuring Todd that she would get in touch with a lawyer right away. Something about this being superior to cable television was whispered by someone behind me. Sergeant Daly returned to where I was standing on my porch before he left. She thanked me for my help and expressed her regret for any uncertainty. She added, smiling slightly, that it appeared I wouldn't need to be expelled after all. After thanking her, I saw the 2 patrol cars drive away, leaving Beverly standing by herself on the sidewalk as her expertly planned. Celebration continued to move forward without a commander. The video was already going viral on our neighborhood Facebook page within an hour. The party ended with a criminal potato salad incident, and the HOA president called the police, but the cousin was detained instead. Even a meme featuring Beverly's astonished expression next to the phrase, "when you call the cops," was made, but it backfired. After the arrest, the comment sections filled up more quickly than the bounce house had deflated. For the following. For weeks, Beverly was completely focused on minimizing the damage. She explained in a neighborhood-wide email that Todd's legal issues were a private family concern, and that the incident had been exaggerated. She attempted to change the story by saying that she had been genuinely defending the community by making sure the right protocols were followed, but the harm had already been done. The following month was set aside for the special HOA board meeting. There was standing room only in the community center's meeting room. Beverly sat at the head table, adopting a protective stance in place of her typical assurance. Neighbors took to the floor, one by one, to express their disapproval of her management style. It was not even close in the end. Beverly was ousted. As president of the HOA by a vote of 47 to 12, her face crumpled in the rain like a violation notice as the